Well, hi there. We're continuing our journey through the Lord's Prayer, and this evening we come to that line, deliver us from evil. Don't know what you think about when you hear the word evil. Kind of makes me think of Halloween, all of the costumes, all of the dressing up, vampires and ghosts and ghouls and things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a bit of dressing up. I'm an Anglican clergyman after all, but you know, I bought some garlic after the episode with the apple yesterday. I'm not going to eat it, but there's something that we're missing if we think about evil in that kind of trivial way. Evil's deadly serious, and yet often we trivialize it. I wonder why we do that. Why do we trivialize things that matter? Well, when it comes to evil, I wonder if it's because we don't really understand it. It's not rational. That's part of the point about evil. You can't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And so it's easier to mock it, to make fun of it, to skirt round the edge of it and to play with it. But Jesus, in the words of the Lord's Prayer, issues a bit of a caution, doesn't he? Deliver us from evil, he says. Often evil masquerades, it dresses up as something that looks good and beautiful and obvious and necessary. When actually, scratch a little bit below the surface, despite what everyone else thinks, and you realize it's entirely the opposite. The other thing about evil is it often crops up in places or systems or institutions of power, particularly to do with people. Things like politics or business or churches. Where there's people mixed with a bit of power, you often find evil lurking somewhere in the background, even if it's not there center stage, which it sometimes is. There are lots of things on the shelves in this study that have all kinds of significance for me. One of the most significant is this cross here. I've just realised I've reached over a picture there. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. A quotation from the Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Again, trivialising darkness and evil. This cross here looks very simple and straightforward. A wooden cross, or is it Christ on the cross crucified, or is it the risen Christ reaching to the world in resurrection hope? Maybe it's both. The reason why this cross is particularly significant to me is it's made out of the charred timbers of a roof from a church in Rwanda, where during the genocide people were rounded up and the church was set on fire. No life survived from that fire, from that church. Evil in those flames. How do we make sense of all of that? Neighbors killing neighbors, Christians, fellow Christians killing fellow Christians, let alone all of the other wars and genocides and places where great evil has been perpetrated. Often in places of great beauty, among and by amazing people in all kinds of ways, people of real talent and gifts and ability. The disturbing thing about evil is it can crop up anywhere. Deliver us from evil, prays Jesus, and invites us to join with him in praying the same prayer. I think Jesus invites us to pray that so that we keep evil on the agenda, so that we don't trivialize it, we don't make light of it, but we take it seriously. We see it for what it really is. We name it when we smell it. We expose it when we hear about it. We call it out and challenge it, exposing the irrationality of it, the lifelessness, the destruction that it reaps, and praying that it might end and working for its ending. Deliver us from evil in a prayer that we're invited to pray at least daily reminds us that evil is around us, evil is within us as well. And we need to be challenged to recognize it, to acknowledge it, to name it, to expose it. Evil, they're not trivial. There's nothing more serious. And so Jesus invites us with him to name and to expose, to challenge and to resist evil wherever we smell it, wherever we see it, in our own lives and in the world around us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.